He is the star, Richard Bazzi, Schultz Ford, SchultzFord.com. I'm Bubba from 100.7 Star. And I got to tell you, we've had some amazing guests on Car Stars and everything in between because of what Richard Bazzi does and what I do outside of radio. I don't know that I could be more excited to have Ryan Minton on Car Stars and everything in between. Everything you've ever wanted to know about customer service, you're going to find out in the next half hour. And I'm so fired up. Welcome, Ryan.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So as a matter of fact, I'm so excited that I invited, well, first of all, I have my digital team, Chelsea and Kristen here with me, who set this up. And I also, after hearing a couple things you said, Ryan, I invited our human resources director, Layla, and our customer relations manager, Diane, to just sit here. I know that we will have this recorded and this will live on, but I thought hearing some of the things that I heard you say is so important. And, in my business, our buzzword is it's all about the customer experience, right? That's our buzzword. We say it, everybody says it. I'm not sure everybody gets it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's easy to say, but you said something about the way an employee's day one sets the tone for everything else. And I thought that was really profound. And my relation to that is I have one of my managers in my leadership team has a daughter, and she started at Dick's Sporting Goods 2 weeks ago. It was impressive the way they began her day one. They sent her a custom made baseball cap. They sent her flowers. She felt like she was the most important employee in that organization. And so my cowboy hat is off to Dick's Sporting Goods because they get it.
Yeah.
And I heard you say it, and Layla and I have talked about this. Day one, being prepared for that person to start their future with us.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's crucial because, look, half the people that left their jobs last year did it in the first 90 days. So you've got to get the first day right. And then I go on to say, you've got to get the first 90 days right. And the word that I use a lot around service, around employee engagement, I feel like I just use it constantly, is intentional. You have to be intentional around those first impressions. And so the reason I believe this is so important is, at a time when it is so hard to find people, to retain people, customers have more choices than ever before. The bar for service is at a different level. So I just found very early in my career, I found a direct correlation to the environments that I worked in the hospitality industry, where we had great leadership and people enjoyed coming to work. We had better service. We ranked higher in the brand. Most of my career was with Marriott and Hilton properties. The properties that outperformed the other ones had great work environments. And so it's Bill Marriott 101, which he says, take care of the employees, they'll take care of the customers. And so, you go back to that day one, immediately you start to model to the employee how we're going to take care of people. And I would argue that, the employee needs to be treated like a customer. They need to have that same level of attention. They need to have that same level of importance. And so oftentimes I'll find that organizations I work with, and even hotels that I manage, I'll have a leader say, oh, I desperately need this person. And they have a position to fill, and then they'll finally fill it. HR will do their job. They'll get the person and bring them in, but then we wreck the first day because we're not ready. We haven't thought through what that looks like. So, Dick's is a classic example. That's a great example. I mean, and those things don't cost a lot. It's really just small little moments that really signify to the person, okay, this is the culture I've joined. I'm excited to be here. I want to come back. I mean, that's a big part of it, getting them to come back. So day one is huge, in my opinion.
It's an amazing phenomenon because I say everything you say. I don't think that I hit the mark all the time.
Mhm.
And usually, and if I keep asking myself why, it usually comes back to hiring either the right person or the wrong person.
Yeah.
Right? Because of so many times we have high performing, low CSI employees. And so you say, well, how do I change that? Well, maybe you can't. And then it goes back to why? Why? Well, maybe your interview process was something less than desirable, and maybe we mishired for that
Mhm.
particular role. And we have those situations now. Ford Motor Company recognizes customer experience by awarding a President's Award,
Yep.
customer satisfaction, and we use NPS scores.
Mhm.
And customer satisfaction is highly weighted on that. And then of course there's a sales component. But so we're 3 of our 4 Ford stores were President's Award, and I swear to you, I saw this sounds terrible. Sometimes I wonder how, like why. I mean, and I say that, and I don't mean to be disparaging to any of our great people. We have great people, but sometimes I feel like we have the right people, but maybe our process needs redefined and to ensure long term, not just an award. And I always say, listen, if President's Award is your goal, you're going to fail. It can't be. It's not about a trophy. It's not about an award. It's about the experience.
Yeah.
Then we go back, and then so now, how do you take a customer who's just bought a brand new car and his transmission falls out day
Mhm.
3,
Mhm.
right? And that happens. I mean,
Yeah, what you're referring to is called guest recovery, which is just as important as the guest experience.
that's absolutely correct. I don't have a training program to overcome that.
Yeah.
And I don't. How would you handle that?
Well, Bubba hit the nail on the head. I love service recovery. It's actually something I get really excited about. I actually like when things go wrong because I just think it creates such a moment with the customer that you would never have, obviously, if it didn't happen. And so I always say those are your opportunities to just absolutely become a hero. And it really, first of all, I applaud you for the 3 of 4, presidents awards. Don't discredit yourself on that. That's a big deal. Um, I one of the things that I think is very interesting. You'll hear people say all the time, "Oh, we want to be the Ritz-Carlton of our industry. Like we want to be the Ritz-Carlton of the automotive industry." So Ritz-Carlton is viewed as this standard for service. And so a lot of people look at my industry, hospitality in general, as a place that generally people give great service and they want to replicate it. So you'll hear this, oh, I want to be the Ritz-Carlton. The founder of Ritz-Carlton, he did a podcast I was listening to, and I just found it fascinating. And he said, the interviewer asked, what does it take to be Ritz-Carlton level service? And he said, you just need to be consistently better than average all the time. And so the podcaster kind of dug in on that because it was such a simple answer. He said, what do you mean consistently better than average? He said, well, the bar for service in most cases is kind of low. So if you can be really consistent, the basics, and this is what I preach, you have to have service basics in place. You have to teach them. People have to know what they are. If you can just get the basics right all the time, you will stand out against your competitor because not everybody does it consistently. And so my guess is you are doing that really well if you're standing out among your competitors. And it doesn't happen all the time. Look, you're going to have some times where you miss, but to the example of the transmission falling out, I train my folks to say, look, how would you want that if it was your mom, if it was your daughter, like how do you want to be handled in that situation?
Right. That's great.
And hospitality is not just in the hotel business. Everyone practices hospitality. Your folks are practicing hospitality. I love that the word hospitality and hospital have the same Latin root, which is hospice, which just means to care for strangers. And that's what you do. So in that case where the customer comes in and they're so excited they had this brand new car, and all of a sudden the transmission drops out. I mean, I would hope my folks would react, if I were employing them, to react exactly how I would want to be treated, how I'd want my mother to be treated in that moment. Practicing good old-fashioned hospitality. And one of my favorite phrases when things go wrong with a customer is, "This is not okay. This is not okay."
Wow.
Love
Okay,
it.
we're talking to Ryan Minton. This is Car Stars and everything in between. More when we return on 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA.
We're not recording, but we still can be heard, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Ryan, you're fabulous.
Oh, thanks, Richard.
You're fabulous. You're George Clooney Jr.
Well, he is from Cincinnati,
Yeah.
I do know. That's great. So what I want to do is I want to book Ryan. Can we do that? Yeah. Ryan, can we book you to speak
Absolutely.
to all of our
That's all I
people?
do now.
Okay. Yeah. I'd love to be able to do that. Chelsea will talk to you about that. I really
would be
want you.
awesome.
Such an easy way to be able to, I mean, how would you want to be treated? How would you want your mother to be treated?
Yeah.
It's also relatable.
I love it.
Instead of being, fighting to be right, or, it's not about being right.
Mm-mm.
That's
Nope.
it's very cool. I think this would be a really good thing for us and help us, Diane and Layla, to be able to create processes that will ensure they know how to act. I mean, my father used to tell me, I don't care what it is, no matter what, the customer's always right. And, it's primitive, but
Well, I
I believe
actually
it.
I actually disagree with that statement.
So do I. So do I.
Here's what I say, though.
Can we record this? Can we record this?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go.
Here we go. 100.1 FM, AM 1020 KDKA. This is Car Stars and everything in between. Anything about amazing customer service. This is literally what Ryan Minton does. But I want to bring to the table a conversation that we were just having off the air, where Richard said that your father always said the customer is always right. And I said, I don't always agree with that. Ryan?
And I said, you know what? I don't agree with it in jest, but here's what I say. The customer is not always right. We know that. They come to us sometimes, and we know they are maybe not telling the whole truth or whatever. The customer is not always right. But here's what I say. The customer is always the customer. That's the bottom line. The customer is not always right, but the customer is always the customer. And so, Richard, we were talking offline there. For whatever reason, sometimes our team has this like internal like thing that happens where they want to go to battle with the customer.
Yes.
And I just don't understand that. In some ways I respect it, because it's like, wow, they're wanting to protect your brand so much that they're willing to personally go to battle. But at the end of the day, it's really about taking care of that customer in that moment to win them over for life, and not necessarily, that you may have a small loss in that moment, potentially, for whatever it is you're going to do to make it right. But man, what is the value of having that customer go tell that story to 10 other people and have them keep coming back? I mean, at the end of the day, customer experience, the name of the game is loyalty. You need repeat customers. You need them to come back.
So Ryan, I own restaurants, and it's incredibly important to me. I say we don't sell burgers, we don't sell fries, we don't sell beer, we sell experiences, right? And I always say this, that when they leave, they aren't going to remember how much they ate. They're not going to remember. They'll remember whether they liked it or not, but what they will absolutely remember when they walk out the door and they think about my restaurant was how they felt.
Hands down.
And if you can win the battle on how they feel when they're no longer in your place, that's how you create loyalty.
Yeah. And that's, one of my favorite books on service is Be Our Guest by the Disney Institute. And
everything I learned from an Imagineer. Everything I learned about the restaurant business.
Well, that's why you said what you said.
I literally learned everything that I do, and everything I did, I learned from a 30-minute conversation with a Disney Imagineer who explained to me everything. And it's how I live my entire life when it comes to guest services. I can't believe you just said that.
Well, it literally says in that book, and they preach it in their trainings, exactly what you said. The folks that go to their part, Disney, widely regarded as, the #1 experience maker in the world, their research shows that the park guests don't remember the food. They don't remember the rides. They don't even talk much about how clean it was. They talk about an interaction with a cast member. And so as I relate that to the industries that I work with, and, even yours, Richard, my research, I find that 80 to 85% of the things that show up online, whether it's a review or a viral video, typically it's gone south, it's always an interaction with a frontline team member. And that's really where my passion lies, is frontline team members, because you think about the world's biggest brands, your brand, you're entrusting into the hands of other people. You're entrusting it into the hands, some of these bigger brands that are, like Disney, they're entrusting their brand into the hands of, part-time employees in some cases. People that it's just a job. And so going back to our point at the top of the show, I mean, it's so crucial that employees feel valued, feel appreciated, because I really believe what happens on the inside is always felt on the outside by the customer.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this, Ryan. How do you see, I've always said it's about the relationship, right? I've always said I preach it. You can have technology here, you can have the customer here. The bridge is about the relationship that connects the two. As we go forward with the oft talked about AI, how does AI then impact, in your mind, that relationship? Does the relationship then start to switch more towards technology, or is it still the experience between the technology and the customer?
Well, let's take Amazon, for example. Incredible usage of technology, right? I mean, Amazon has raised the bar when it comes to customer experience because they're so easy to do business with. So if you do it well, it really is a non-issue, because at the end of the day, the customer really just wants whatever it is they're trying to get done, taken care of. And so I've had issues with Amazon where, product is wrong or whatever, and it's just done so easily, no questions asked. Where I see AI being a trouble spot for folks is they're introducing it, but they're not introducing it either to its full potential, or, here's the big thing for me. Research after research, study after study says customers still want to be able to get a hold of a human when they need it. And
Yes.
so that is what I preach, is that be there when the customer needs you. Have the technology, use the AI. There's beautiful ways it can be done, but man, when that customer reaches the point of frustration or they need you, you better be available. That's really where I think you have to, really look at your process and say, can the customer get a hold of me when they really need me?
Yeah, I think that's really important. One of the things that we introduced as a motor company, as an OEM, probably 3 years ago, was mobile service.
Mm-hmm.
We come to you. One of the first to adopt that. We were slow adopters, not us individually, but a lot of dealers were slow adopters to that because it was new and different. But boy, it has exploded. We, for example, last month, just as a small deal, we did almost 1,000 mobile experiences.
Wow.
And the reason is, you refer to Amazon. The reason is because it makes it simple.
Yeah.
It's the simplicity. It's, pick up the phone, make a mobile appointment, and it has to be seamless.
Yeah.
If they pick up the phone to make the appointment, they better be able to do that.
I was just telling my best friend who still lives in Cincinnati the other day, I said, I tell you, one of the things that I have grown to absolutely love about South Florida is that I can get anything I want done at my house. Everything is mobile here. I mean, I have my oil changed in my driveway. I get my car washed in my driveway. You name it. If I want it done, I see my neighbors, they have their pet gets washed in a van that pulls up to their driveway.
Yeah.
And so, people want convenience. They don't want friction. They want ease. And so I love that you guys are doing that. And it does not surprise me at all that you are seeing that type of number, because people want convenience. They want ease.
Ryan,
really
I
do.
do something that you may think I'm crazy, but I on everyone, I have 3 restaurants. Every one of my receipts has my personal cell phone number on it. It doesn't have the store number on it. Literally, so if they've got a complaint
Yep.
and they've
Love
got the receipt, they don't call the store. They ring my personal cell phone number. So I take every complaint personally and handle it.
Awesome.
You know what he
And
doesn't tell you though, Ryan? He doesn't call anybody back.
well, I was going to ask you, I mean, do you find that it is utilized much?
All the time.
Okay.
I probably more than I would like because I'm dealing with more complaints than I would like, but I handle them immediately.
And you know, I actually in my first book, I have a whole section where I say celebrate complaints. And I always got excited when I was managing at the property level of a hotel, and the front desk would call and say, you know, Ryan, there's a guest that wants to speak with you. Because kind of to our earlier point, like I was like, all right, game on, let's do. What do we got to do to make this guest, you know, a lifelong fan? And oftentimes, I don't know about you, but I find, you know, they'll call the front desk, say they are so angry, they're pissed off, you know, they're oh my god, like, you know, just they're raging. And I call and immediately like the temperature just comes down because I don't think they are expecting that level of response. And so people just want to be heard. You know, empathy is a superpower when it comes to customer experience.
Bingo.
Empathy is a superpower. People just want to know that you hear them and you get it. And so I don't know how many times to the customer, you know, I've said, look, if I were in your shoes, I would be just as upset. And boom, you just see the ice come off their shoulders because they're like, all right, this guy understands what I'm going through.
I love it. Ryan, if anybody wants to follow you, if they want to buy your book, or if they want to go to your website, or how can they follow everything for Ryan?
Everything, ryanminton.com. You can find ways to buy the book there and follow me on my social channels. And I speak to organizations all the time. Actually coming your way in next month, at the end of the month, I'm speaking. I don't think I can say the brand because I don't know what, I have to look at the contract, but it's a well-known local Pittsburgh diner. Let's say that.
Well, Ryan, when you're in town, why don't you set up a meeting and let's all get together?
Yeah, why don't we try to? Maybe we could piggyback that with speaking to our group.
Let's do it. I'd love to.
Okay, Chelsea will definitely be.
Ryan Minton, follow him on social media. Thanks for being on Cars, Stars, and everything in between, and maybe we'll meet you next month.